In this Yowza.com Meteor Update No. 1, we will present AMS data for January 2013 to September 2014. Then we'll show an AMS data comparison for 2010 and 2014. Following these two presentations, we will present a trend analysis of the data and what it means for our future. The related tribulation timeline projection events, as presented in Being in It for the Species, The Universe Speaks, are Deep Impact, which is the second event in the timeline, and then Transit the Tail, which is the last catastrophic event in the timeline before the backside event, when we see blue skies once again. The information contained in this update is based on the reporting data presented by the American Meteor Society website at amsmeteors.org and builds on the statistical analysis presented in our Planet X 101 videos, Who, What, When, Where, Why, and How, posted on October 28, 2013, and Deep Impact, posted on May 30, 2014. In both of these programs, we included prior year actuals, current actuals, and projected forecasts for the future. So let's see how things have progressed since the beginning with the most current data set for January 2013 to September 2014. A key indicator for us are the yearly fireball statistics, and here we see the actual number for 2013 and 2014 actuals through September versus the projected number of fireballs for 2014. What we see is that the number of fireballs for 2014 is either at or above the levels for 2013. So the trend is continuing to grow, but not as much as projected. When we compare that with the monthly statistics for all categories of meteor events, we see those numbers substantially higher in January of this year as compared with January 2013. However, after that, it goes down until May of this year, and there we see a noticeable increase in all categories, enough to reach the numbers projected for 2014 over 2013. Multi-state meteor reports are important because these objects are large enough to be seen in multiple countries such as the United States and Canada, or in multiple states in the United States. The trend here is that we see a weak pattern for the months of January through June of this year, where the actuals for 2014 are at or below projected, and often less than the actuals for 2013. However, in July, that trend reverses, and we see consistent growth of multi-state reports where there is a marked increase in the number of reports in 2014 as compared to 2013, in a growth pattern that is on balance just a little lower than projected for this year. On the other hand, the pattern for huge fireballs shows a substantial deviation from past years. What we see here are no prior year actuals or no forecasted projections for the months of February, April, July, and August. While September is well short of forecast, it was considerably higher in this category than it was in September of 2013. The picture really comes into focus when we combine the statistics for multi-state and huge events. And here we see the continuation of the disturbing trend we've been tracking since our first report. In both cases, what we see is that from June through September of this year, we clearly have a striking growth in the overall reports in these two categories. To put this in perspective, we're next going to view AMS data comparisons between the years 2010 and 2014. When we compare the first 9 months of 2010 and 2014 in the category of yearly fireball statistics, we begin to see the significance of the trend data. When we look at the overall monthly statistics for all observation categories for these 2 years, the number of reports has jumped considerably. And if you think this is discouraging, wait until you see the next comparison. Here we see a comparison of the multi-state report statistics for 2010 and 2014. These meteors are so large, they are seen in the geographic areas of no less than 2 states. When we look at the comparison between 2014 and 2010, the difference is breathtaking to say the least, and so will be the next comparison in this series. Here we see the huge fireball reports for 2010 and 2014. What this comparison clearly shows is a massive uptick in the number of huge fireball sightings. Likewise, the month of September is, well, remarkable to say the least. So with that, let's see how things look on a combined statistical basis. Here we have combined statistics for multi-state and huge fireball reports for 2014 versus 2010. What we see in both categories is that in 2010, the reporting trends are gradual with a few fluctuations. However, what these comparisons show for 2014 is that the reporting trends are anything but gradual. In both cases, we see it starting high at the beginning of the year for 2014, then dipping sharply down towards 2010 levels until the summer. Then we see an anomalous uptick in both categories. So what does all of this portend? Well, we'll discuss that next in our trend analysis. In our video, Planet X 101 Deep Impact, posted on May 30th, 2014, we first speculated that this trend could be explained by the approach of the Planet X system towards the core of our own solar system, and that Earth could now be passing between the outer bands of the Nemesis star at the core of the Planet X system. To illustrate one possible explanation for the anomalous trends in the 2014 observations, let's use this illustration of the rings of Saturn as a backdrop for our simulation. Like Saturn, the rings of Nemesis are also arranged in inner and outer bands, separated by varying distances. With this in mind, let's imagine Earth passing through the successive outer bands of the Nemesis dark star at the center of the Planet X system. This would explain why the gradual and consistent trend for 2010 has turned into a dramatically erratic pattern in 2014. Absent any other logical explanation, such as natural variability, what could this trend be telling us? We believe it is telling us that the current anomalous trend in meteor observations is consistent with the deep impact projection of the guides as presented in Being in It for the Species, The Universe Speaks. This projection event is discussed in great detail in the book, along with subsequent cataclysmic implications. Interestingly enough, there are remarkable similarities between the deep impact projected event described by the guides as compared with the scenario in the 1998 science fiction classic Deep Impact. These correlations are extremely similar for both Europe and the eastern seaboard of the United States. To learn more about the deep impact event projection made by the guides in the book Being in It for the Species, visit beinginitforthespecies.com or yowza.com.